If we're going to get into early Christianity, I want to look at the early life of Jesus and what it tells us about early Christianity. So, first of all, Jesus, or Yahshua, is going to be a figure that we see primarily written about in the Bible. We do see him mentioned by Josephus and other secular authors of the time. There is really very little doubt that Jesus existed. He's born sometime around 4 BCE. You'll sit there and go, but shouldn't he be born around 1 BCE or 1 CE? And you're right, but there's dating errors. The original dating system was developed by a monk who was off a little bit in his calculations. And he's a Jewish man. Jesus is Jewish. He's from Nazareth. He would have been a carpenter, or it's translated as carpenter in later European translations. Really, he would have been a laborer because there aren't really all that many trees in the area of Galilee, in Nazareth, really throughout most of Israel. So when it's translated in Europe, they say carpenter because, of course, wood is more plentiful and it's a more relatable, more understandable profession to them rather than general laborer that would have a different connotation to the Europeans at the time. He is a teacher. He has a ministry. He attracts a following as he travels throughout the area of modern-day Israel, Jordan, etc. And he is teaching really these sort of philosophical ideas. He's not the only person doing it. We know of a lot of people who either claim to be or other people claim that they are messiahs. So that's not uncommon for the period. But he is a little bit different because while he is seen as a messiah, he's not charging for his miracles. Typically, what we see in these times is we'll see people like the Egyptian or Barabbas or others who claim to be, different Barabbas, by the way, from the biblical Barabbas, who claim to be a Messiah. And oftentimes they will charge for these miracles. The miracles oftentimes don't work. Sometimes they do. And what sets Jesus apart is that he's doing this seemingly out of the kindness of his heart rather than really any other system, any other reason. So we do see this increase in messiahs after Pompey the Roman conquers Palestine in about 63 BCE. There are at least 25 individuals who will claim to be a messiah. Some people claimed that others are messiahs even after the time of Jesus. So not really uncommon. And you have to put yourself in the place of the Jews at the moment. They're conquered by the Romans. So again, they're under control of some foreign power, which has happened before in their history. It's never ended well for them. And so they're looking for this person who's going to come back and lead them to this victory, either spiritual or physical. And that's why we're seeing this increase. And he's going to be crucified sometime between 29 and 33 CE or AD. Crucifixion is a really nasty way to go. Typically, you are nailed to some form of crossbeam that is elevated. It doesn't always look like the T like we see on the typical crucifix. This is not done to Roman citizens. It's only used on non-citizens in frontier areas, which Palestine definitely is at the time. And what they are doing by putting this person on the cross is they are putting all their weight on their chest. Now, there are two ways that you're crucified. The long way would take 2 or 3 days to pass, and basically as your chest gets weaker and weaker, you can breathe less and less, you can inhale less, and as a result you start slumping forward, putting more pressure on the chest cavity, resulting in the lungs simply not expanding, and eventually you die. The second way is typically going to be where they break your legs, so you can't push back up, can't push your body weight back up. It's going to accelerate the process and you'll die in 2 to 3 hours. That being said, the body was typically left up on the cross. They leave it with a sign above it telling what the crime was, and they do that so that people won't commit the same crime again because, hey, I don't want to end up like that guy. And they would stay there based on other crucifixions, accounts of other crucifixions, typically until the body starts falling off or the birds start really eating the body. Then at some point it will be taken down. The body is not nailed through the hands. Typically it's going to be nailed through the wrist, but also tied because they don't want any possibility of someone somehow falling off of that cross, it defeats the entire purpose. They would survive. That would be a huge problem.